buddies? It's Royal. 5 tips when shopping for tech. Tip number one, be specific. Know what you're looking for, because in tech, there's too much technology out there, too many different brands, too many different specifications, just too much tech, too many different variants. I can't stress that enough. It's just too much to fathom. So when you're shopping for a particular product, know what you want, know what you're looking at, as detailed as possible. For example, let's say you're looking for a laptop. You can't just walk into a store and say, hey, I need a laptop, and they just gonna be like, okay, cool, here's that one. They need to know some information, so you must be specific. They're gonna be like, will you be mobile? Because laptops have different, some laptops are built for lightweight situations, some laptops are heavy. Will you be outside a lot because the screen brightness matters? Will you be disconnected from the charger a lot because the battery life matters? What kind of productivity will you be doing, because there are different CPUs that go from, it can work for multiple applications running at a time, or it can be dedicated CPUs. It's just, great for browsing. All these things matter because there's too many different products out there that suit different needs. Tip number 2, take your time. No need to rush. You should never rush a tech purchase. Take your time, do some research. Manufacturers like to put a lot of stuff on boxes, put a lot of labels saying my product can do this, my product can do that, but it's not always the case. Take your time, go look up some reviews, go watch some reviews, go watch the performance, because most of the time you may know what you want. That product may say everything that you really want. It says it, but it doesn't live up to that expectation, and then you're just stuck with that product. So take your time. You should never ever rush a tech purchase, because no matter what you want, when you buy tech, it's for longevity. You're buying headphones, you're not buying headphones for a week or just 2 weeks or just a couple of months. It's longevity. Any tech purchase is for longevity. So because of that fact, just take your time, do some research. There is no need to rush. So you hear me? Just take your time. Just take your time. No need to rush it. Just take your time. Tip number 3, pay attention to variations. Almost every tech product has a variation. Most of the time, the average person doesn't know which variation they're getting. Each variation is for each particular different use. So you must know which variation that you're getting. So pay attention to these different variations. If you have a monitor, one variation doesn't have speakers, the next variation has speakers. One variation doesn't have this color spectrum, and this variation has this color spectrum. So you must pay attention to which variation that you're purchasing, because it is very important. You might be getting something that you don't want, and you missed out because you didn't pay attention to which variation of that product you got. You see it everywhere. You got the Dell monitor XX, and then they have an XXH, and then they have a XXHS. You know what I'm saying? You see that stuff everywhere. So just pay attention to which variation you got. Tip number 4, compare. It is very important that you compare products. You might got a product that you think meets all of your needs, but you need to compare it to different products in that price point and in that specs point. Sometimes the price and specs are like interchangeable, but it's very important that you compare, because that one time you compare, you might find a product, similar price range, similar specs, but that other product might offer something better. It might be one spec that is slightly better. So it's very important that you make sure you do these comparisons, and don't overlook older models of a particular product. The newer model definitely is not always better. Sometimes it underperforms compared to the older model. For a plus with the older models, most likely that older model is less expensive. It may perform better, and it may be less expensive. Sometimes when companies put out new products every year, it doesn't always work out. So don't overlook older products. So make sure you do your comparison with different brands, different products, and different price points, and don't be afraid to look at those older models. Tip number 5, Fever Flame. Wait to make that purchase. Make that purchase during peak sales. Technology is always on sale. You should never pay full price for a piece of tech. Never. Unless you're an early adopter, then that's a whole nother case. I know everybody like to get in line for their iPhones or whatever the case may be. Some people like go get a game you know, as soon as possible when it first come out. But other than those special cases, you should not be paying full price for any type of tech, because tech is constantly growing. You should never pay full price for an item. Every time a new generation product comes out, the older ones go on sale, and it's a lot cheaper during these peak sales on tech releases, Black Friday, Christmas, you know, spring sales. Spring sales aren't really that great, but there are often enough times where you can find a very great sale at random though. But don't just, you know, look on typical popular websites. Go check out some off-brand website and make sure it's reliable, because sometimes they actually have the product you want but at a very, very low price. So like I said, you should never pay full price for anything tech related unless you're an early adopter. Then that's a whole nother case. So make sure you go try to get the best sale possible, because instead of paying $1,000 for a camera you want, you can pay $700. You will save $300. You know what I'm saying? So just make sure you wait for those peak sales. So let's go ahead and run this back. Tip number 1, be specific. Tip number 2, take your time, do your research. Tip number 3, pay attention to variations. Tip number 4, you got to do your comparisons. Trust me, if you do a lot of comparisons, it's going to work out for you. And tip number 5, make sure you make a purchase during peak sales. These tips personally worked out for me on a number of different occasions. I go in thinking one thing, and after following these tips, I come out with something else. So you made it to the end of this video. I definitely appreciate you for making it this far and taking the time to click that video. If you got any tips of your own, if you think something is more important than the other, whatever the case may be in reference to this 5 tips, drop it down below in the comment section. Also, do me a quick favor, hit that subscribe button for me one time, never do it again, and share this video. Tell a friend to tell another friend to come watch this video. You know, we're gonna be right back here with many different videos in the near future. So thanks for watching. I'ma holler at y'all later. Be easy.